Great Conversation on Africa was born in 2010. After a deeper reflection, we got to know that young people must have a level of engagement on the way forward. So we began in 2010 at Coconut Group Regency Hotel, and this is the 4th year, and the story is very impactful. The young people are getting more excited about it, and young people are becoming more assertive on the way forward, so that those who have lost hope in the system are now beginning to rethink and readjust to the opportunities that exist for the country.
I see there's a lot of hope and prospects for the country. Thinking about the youth, having ideas about how to move this nation forward is actually very encouraging. As you know, we all agree that the youth are the future of the country, they are the future of Africa. And as we are celebrating Africa at 50, you can imagine that 50 years ago, what the concept that the founding fathers had. You are those who will push it forward, and we expect that by next 50 years, when we are in this stage, Africa will be a more integrated, peaceful and prosperous community, with those of you here now being ahead of affairs in the whole of scheme of African integration.
This program is necessary because we create conversation that allows us to identify the problems. And without identification of the problems, we are not able to know the solutions and the way forward. So it is very necessary because we need to find out what is wrong with our system based on these conversations, and then discuss possible solutions that will help us take actions if we need to.
Today's program is all about hearing the views of the youth and link and in consultation with how development in our country, in Africa as a whole, can go on. And I think it's one good initiative that we will need more often of these things to enhance and also incorporate the minds of the youth in our policies in this country. Because we are upcoming, we are so energetic now. Even the Bible says, remember your God in the days of your youth. This is the time we are youthful to our society and to our community and to our country as a whole. So I think more of such things are going to energize the youth, keep them working, reflect their minds to society. And on that basis, I think that's why all this initiative or today's gathering is brought about. And I'm really happy to be part of it as well.
I think the conversation on Africa is very important because it actually enlightens us, and then it helps us to actually move forward. If we take whatever we discuss here and then learn here into practice, it's going to help us to move forward.
I think as a youth, the best I can do is trying to enhance the democratic credential that Ghanaians we are intending to propose in the House.
Rise Ghana youth of our country. The nation demands our devotion. We are ready, the youth, we are ready. We are ready to take action.
But when I live in a country, when my leaders choose themselves over me, I have every cause, but then I don't blame them much because we, the youth ourselves, have not been angry enough about issues that concern us.
In 2010, our budget was read and clearly indicated that government was reducing subvention to tertiary education by 70%. And I did not even see a single Ghanaian youth or even a university student angry about it because we don't know.
You tune into our radio stations and every single thing has been politicized. Everything. In fact, very soon, even who you buy pure water from, we will read politics into it. So then, if we want to develop this country, we have to deliberately prepare the people, you people sitting here, and direct you towards the way we want the country to go.
But the question I want to ask is it because we haven't had visionary leaders, that is why Africa is still here? Or it's because there is something that the leaders can see that we who are following cannot see? That is why Africa is moving backwards rather than forward.
God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong.
why I want to call myself a crusader engineer and why I'm looking for disciples. You are aware that we built Akusumbo power plant half a century ago. That's 2 generations. Presently, we're building the Bui. The Bui is less than 1/4 the size of the Akusumbo. And after sitting on the Akusumbo plant for 2 generations, we'll go and bring the Chinese, master Chinese, come and build the Bui for us, this small thing. And what urged me was that I was hoping that the young people like you and get up and say, why? 50 years. You're building a Bui 1/4 the size of Akusumbo. You have had the UST Science University for 60 years. So if the Koreans had built the Akusumbo equivalent, in 50 years they were building a Bui much smaller to go and bring some other country to build for them. I didn't hear any of you complaining. But I am saying that I'm going to report all younger people to God when I reach there because of your attitude.
And I must say that I was very encouraged when I walked in here and I listened to the conversation that was going on. I realized that we have a Passionate Africa has brought in here a group of young men and women who are enlightened. People who know what they are talking about. As I listened to the conversation, I was very encouraged. That's what we need to step up. We need to step up skills as well. Let our people gain skills. Skills to do things. Skills to do things. Ask any employer in this country, they tell you that one of the biggest problems they have is skills. People really just learn. And they learn and learn and learn, and when they come out of the university, they expect that they are immediately employed and given cars. Yet when you ask their contribution to productivity, it's zero. Zero. I spoke to a managing director in one of the companies on the Spintex Road. He has a machine which he bought from China, and he does printing of wax. And he invited the Chinese to come and service the machine here. When the Chinese arrived, they were shocked to find out that he had 400 workers on that machine. Whereas in China, where he imported the machine, they used only 75 workers for the same machine. And in China, they are doing over 80% capacity of the machine with 75 workers, the same machine. In Ghana, on the Spintex Road, the man is using 400 workers on that same machine, and they are doing less than 50% of the capacity. So the man tells me, so you understand why our workers are poor? Because I have to put together the salaries of 75 people and divide it by 400. I'm talking skilled labor. That's what we're lacking. People just think it's about certificate. I have nothing against certificate. But let's learn to improve upon ourselves. Improve upon ourselves. Recently, I saw some oranges in town. Foreign oranges. I don't know if you have come across those yellow oranges on the streets. And when you find out, they'll tell you that the foreign oranges are sweeter, they are seedless. So you ask yourself, what is the use of the Crop Research Institute? What's the use? So I'm talking skill, but finally, what Africa needs, what Ghana needs, is honest people. Yeah. Honest people. Honest people. That's what we lack. In fact, honest people have become an endangered species on our continent and in this country. Yeah. Honesty is flying, is waiting, is going out of the window quickly. One of the things I like to beg, this is Passionate Africa, and I will say it passionately. Please, if you will do one thing, try. You see, don't copy what everybody else is doing. It has become very common for people to look for comfortable lives, doesn't matter how they get it. People don't care anymore. I beg you, this country cannot have a future if we all went that way. Particularly those of you who are sitting here. If our generation is lost, let not this generation also be lost. If this generation is lost, it is over. Honesty is a big value that is missing. The values of hard work and honesty, they are missing in our society today. Everybody wants to drive in a big car, everybody wants to live in a big house, but they don't give a damn how they get it.
Now I believe that if all of you sitting here knew that for every 10 seconds that I've spoken, you have had water equivalent to 40 million sachets from the Volta River into the sea. For 10 seconds. And yet we don't have enough water in our car. But because the people are not informed of this, then when they are giving some explanation, they say, you know, and nobody complains. When we have 27,000 megawatts of wind power in the Volta Lake, that's there. Anybody who would like to challenge me? Meanwhile, the United States, the place called Southern Wyoming, they were building 3,000 megawatt plant with 1,000 towers. Each one is 3 megawatts. Over 220,000 acres or 100,000 hectares. Now we have this longest wind corridor in the world from the Ada to the north, 1,000 kilometers, where you can put at least 3,000 to 9,000 towers. If you put 3,000, that will be 9,000 megawatts. If you put at 300 meter interval, because the blade is 85 meters and the height is 120 meters. This kind of wind turbine will give you 3 megawatts. Actually, yes, 3 megawatts. So if you put in a straight line at every 300 meters, you get 3,000, that will be 9,000 megawatts. But if you are stupid like me, you make it triangular, you get 27,000 megawatts. And if you have wind outage, say 66%, that means the 9,000 megawatts is there for you. And yet, these towers are built with fiberglass. But the glass factory at Boston, nobody's talking about it. Where we could get the fiberglass material for the tower. And you call only 1 megawatt power to get that activated. And none of you is complaining because you don't have information. So I am pleading with young people like you. Please get the knowledge. If you don't get the knowledge, the people will bamboozle you.
I have seen what your organization can do. I've listened to a little of your discussions. I believe that in this world, wherever we are well positioned to be contributors of any developmental process. And I beg to tell you that you are more privileged. When I returned to Ghana in the early 90s, I was burning with exuberance, with fire, with ideas as a youth. And I think when my colleagues who meet me today think that I'm sitting in a wheelchair. So whatever you have as a concept, as a youth, don't be frightened. We need you today more than ever before. Because when we came to Ghana, we were then shaping the national policies. We did cultural policies, we did economic policies, we did tourism, we did the international diplomacy policies. The youth played a major role because that time, most of the older men had left the shores of Ghana to seek greener pastures. So you can imagine, as you sit, you are in a better climate, so you would think that you are being marginalized. But because you are too lucky, looking at it, you know, Ghana is making strides in whatever it is doing. It is good we have chosen the political dispensation that's more plural in approach and more participatory, where we say everybody is welcome to share ideas. I believe when I was listening to you, you seem to be more interested in insults than in your ideas. I would beg to plead with you that as youthful people, learn the hardest way, be more respectful, be more disciplined, live like soldiers, because you know, wherever I have tread my foot, coming from Japan, a society which is more disciplined, I believe that when I come, my ideas will take roots. The moment I arrived at the shores of Ghana, I believe that if I would not have a forum like this to propagate my ideas, so I formed a research center. It was not financed by anybody, by myself. I sent ideas around, and I think at that time, Mr. P.V. Obin, who is now a special advisor to the president, bought into my ideas. he kept sending me to meet ministers to share my ideas with. But you know, when you approach a minister with your idea, he will ask you, who sent you? Because he's frightened, he cannot implement it. Today, I see a lot of my ideas being implemented. It has taken 20 years, but there is time for everything. When you dream, it's good to be a dreamer and you follow your dreams. And as a youth, you know, when people are insulting, please don't be part of it. Keep steady. You know, we want to see people who are also well-groomed, well-positioned. And as we have seen, we say Ghana is growing, Africa is growing. There are too many opportunities now for the youth. And I believe, as we dreamt, and Gogisbeck also dreamt for Ghana. When I arrived in Japan, we had the old educational system. By the time you leave sixth form, you might be calling for a new wife, you see. But now, you are very young. When I arrived in Japan, I realized that at the age of 18, they had started university work. At 21, you must be working. And then by, you know, they don't believe in masters and doctorates. So it was for we the foreigners, because they go straight into workplace, groomed there, and they become more Japanese in their approach to raise the flag of Japan. What is the best framework for achieving capable, responsive, and accountable government in developing countries? How can we as communities be changed to ensure that public resources go towards securing the general welfare? The argument here today is that power of public opinion is a critical factor in developing accountable government and responsive governments and maintaining a democratic space in Africa. It is further argued that a democratic public sphere provides a vital structure through which good governance may be secured. That good governance is not just about government, it's about how citizens, leaders, and public institutions relate to each other in order to make change happen. And that good governance requires three things: state capital, government responsiveness to views of its people, and accountability and openness, critical to the process and our public opinion and the democratic public sphere. Having seen these things, I think you are more versed in that, because I have worked as a public servant. I try to ensure that policies work for whoever, for all people, all citizens. Now, more than ever before, we are saying that Africa is moving. The challenges are great. We were faced with instability in the past. Luckily, Ghana and a few other African countries have put Africa on the map. Now Africa is growing, whilst most of the rest of the world is showing slow growth.
I believe that when one talks about inclusive democratic governance, one also has to talk about development, as the two actually go hand in hand. And also the theme itself, it is more than just a statement. It is also asking us a number of questions as to whether we in Africa are harnessing public opinion cleverly, we are harnessing it inclusively, we are harnessing it democratically, and more importantly, we are harnessing it developmentally. The answer to this, or answers to this, are a yes and a no. Yes, in the sense that actually here in Africa, there's no shortage of ideas. There's no shortage of plans, and there's no shortage of policy papers. I mean, all you have to do is look at the IMF, the World Bank, think tanks, other civil societies. Every group is coming with its own policy, with its own ideas, and would want to have change policy at some point. So we don't have a shortage of policies. What we have, or rather the problem we are facing here in Africa, are not technical problems, which is they are not policy problems, but problems of politics. Problems such as getting enough coalition of people who are organized, who are inspired, who are willing to go, who will then put pressure on those who are elected and those that are running us to enact policies that people want. Mr. Chairman, I believe that this is where the youth come into the picture. The youth are always often energized. One only has to see them dancing a zonto and drinking some of the stuff they drink out there to see how much the energy and how they use it. They dance like it's no tomorrow. There's no tomorrow. They all dance. That energy is important to politics, but politics seem to struggle to link itself into this energy. And contrary to popular opinion, youth, as we've heard most people here talk, the youth know what is going on in the government system. And not only that, they also have a clear sense of justice, of equality, of freedom, and of fairness, far much more than most of the older people. This I say from experience, and this I say from having worked with youths for a very long time. They are also technically savvy. They understand technology. They know how to use technology. And our fathers, in this case, are struggling. They are using technology, but they are struggling with technology. What I'm trying to say is that not can the youth be useful in driving forward development and growth agendas, they can also be useful furnishing governments with information on a large number of development issues. So governments, if they are not listening to their youth, and we are talking today about harnessing public opinion, if they are not listening to their youth, if they are not harnessing the opinion of the youth, then they are the ones that are actually losing in the process, other than the youths themselves. Firstly, as I've pointed out, you don't need to sit the youth down. It's a waste of time. Young people don't really want to spend a lot of time sitting down. They get bored. So, and how do you stop them from dancing, Azonto? You can't stop them from doing all the things they like doing. So what you do is you go and find them wherever they are and engage them there. You find the youth on Facebook, you find the youth on Twitter, you find the youth on different platforms. And this is exactly what Passionate Africa, this organization in particular, is trying to do, to engage the youth, not only to go and speak to the youth, to say, we know what you want, but to actually say, what is it that you want? What is it that is not being done right? And how can we actually help you or help society move forward with your ideas, with your views, with your aspirations, and with your needs? Secondly, there is an argument, and most of this argument is coming from older people, mostly from politicians. Politicians see youth, often they don't take the youth very seriously, but the youth don't want to vote, and that is a problem. Mostly older people vote. I don't know here in Ghana, but generally in the world, the youth don't vote. So politicians, when they are listening to opinion, they are listening to opinion of people that actually vote. And we did a small survey here in Ghana. And from this survey, it showed us actually that not only do a lot of youths want to vote or to partake in the whole democratic process, but they believe that actually most of their views are not being listened to, that most of their aspirations and their needs are not being looked after. And for that, most youths actually don't really want to contribute to the development of this country. They want to go abroad. They want to go somewhere else. They are seeking greener pastures because basically here in this country, those opportunities are not being made, by and large, are not being made available to them. So, we at Passionate Africa, or Passionate Africa as a group and as an organization, believe that the youths are the future. And I can repeat what I said earlier, that we are attempting, and we've been doing this for the past few weeks now, engaging the youth in places that we can find them. And we believe that their voices need to be articulated, their needs and aspirations addressed. And in that, we are working tirelessly to make sure that Africa can have a future that is different from the today. We're working with the youth, I could repeat, hearing their voices, and aspirations, and making available to them elements of knowledge, ideas. We do this through the programs we put together, through training, through leadership training, through seminars, and of course we do it through organizing events such as this one, which is at the point of it a discussion platform, debate platform, and a lobby platform where the voices of the youth are put forward. However, we are struggling with getting funding, and I'd like to appeal to people in this room, those that have organizations, those that work with the government, that we can actually take contracts, or you can partner us in what we do. You've seen what we do, and we can take contracts from you and deliver what we've already delivered on this. Mr. Chairman, I would leave it there. And to conclude, I would say a sensible innovator in governance needs to worry about public attitude and public opinion, and where possible must seek to shape them in ways that support democracy, good governance, development, and the youth are key to this.
Since the World Bank's evolution of good governance, with its associated focus on broader public participation as an essential requirement for sustainable development, in its 1989 report entitled Sub-Saharan Africa, From Crisis to Sustainable Growth, many African countries have endeavored to move from the minimalist or proceduralist approach to democracy, where emphasis is placed on election as a principal participatory tool, to a more participatory democracy with varying degree of success. The trend now for many countries is the continued search for innovative ways of constructively engaging citizens in governance and administration of public policy beyond their electoral participation. Dr. Chairman, the situation is not different here in Ghana. Ghana's present Fourth Republican democratic experience, which has so far proved to be enduring, even though with challenges. It's underpinned by a history of mixture of civilian and military rule, following the coming into force of the 1992 Constitution and the consequent restoration of multi-party democracy. Ghana has striven to expand the frontiers of democratic space and participation in order to give voice to the marginalized and vulnerable in society, and also incorporate their views in the formulation and implementation of public policy. Dr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, marked as freedom of expression is very important. It is significant in stimulating inclusive democratic governance cannot be overemphasized. The ability of citizens to profile meaningful and useful opinions on various national issues is a function of easy access to reliable, accurate, and timely information, as well as transparency and accountability. It is in this regard that His Excellency, the President John Dramani Mahama, you will all recall, highlighted transparent and accountable governance as one of the four key focus areas in his first State of Nations address delivered to Parliament on Thursday, 21st February 2013. In his address, the President made specific mention of his unflinching commitment to ensure that the Right to Information Bill is passed into law. This will give effect to constitutional right of citizens to access information freely and criticize government's decision or offer alternative solutions to issues that affect them most. I am happy to announce that the Minister of Information and Media Relations has finalized the bill and submitted it to Cabinet for consideration and onward submission to Parliament for approval into law. Dr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in the absence of the right to information law, though government nonetheless has instituted measures to ensure citizens easy access to information and their concerns factored into both the formulation and review of public policies. The conception and institutionalization of the annual policy fairs is one of the measures by which government hopes to reach out to the populace and empower them to make informed decisions and raise concerns on issues bordering on their lives. Another useful expectation of the policy fair is the promotion of dialogue among stakeholders and the encouragement of broader debates on policy alternatives. Mr. Chairman, Dr. Chairman, another yet important measure that has been adopted to disseminate information and solicit public opinion is the Meet the Press series organized by the Ministry of Information and Media Relations. The Meet the Press series platform affords MDAs and MMDAs the opportunity to address the public on the performances of policies, programs, projects, and activities administered by the government and also gather feedback for processing. Dr. Chairman, the Ministry of Information and Media Relations is presently, as part of its objective, is working to revive town hall meetings. This concept has the unique potential for involving citizens, especially at the grassroots level, in public decision-making process in matters that affect them most. This is to engender the bottom-up decision-making process, which was adopted since 1992. Government has also initiated measures to strengthen local governance substructures, i.e., the area, town, and zonal committees, to promote participation at the local level. Presently, government has started daily press briefings at the presidency to ensure constant information flow on government business. Dr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, all the above measures are aimed at deepening the participation for sustainable national development and equitable distribution and redistribution of resources. Since the discovery of oil and gas in commercial quantities and its extraction, government has engaged a cross-section of the public at all levels to make input into utilization of revenue accruing from the oil and gas resource to ensure that the oil find becomes a blessing to the entire people of the country. Civil society organizations have also commissioned research to find public opinion on the utilization of revenue from the oil and gas. I therefore wish at this juncture to call on the good people of Ghana to avail themselves to the several platforms being created by government to share their thoughts on public policy. Government will surely listen to them and take their concerns seriously for decision making. May I take this opportunity, Dr. Chairman, at this juncture to thank the organizers, Passionate Africa Initiative, for their untiring efforts in an attempt to foster public participation in decision making, which is very key for every successful democracy. I wish to thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
For the way forward, we see Passionate Africa getting to the continent, other countries in the continent. We see the great conversation on Africa growing more and getting into the regions and becoming a national event, and again, even to extend it to the other parts of the world.